Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. Prosecutors are expected to rest their case against Paul Manafort today in the former Trump campaign chairman's bank and tax fraud trial. As NPR's Miles Parks reports, the trial is still on schedule to finish up next week.
Prosecutors are expected to button up their case today after calling 4 or 5 more witnesses to the stand. After that, Manafort's defense team will get a chance to present evidence, and it's unclear how many witnesses they plan on calling to testify. Manafort is charged with 18 counts of tax and bank fraud.
NPR's Miles Parks reporting. 1 year after a white nationalist rally turned deadly in Charlottesville, Virginia, protesters are poised to take to the streets once again. NPR's Amy Held reports authorities are looking to avert violent confrontation at this year's Unite the Right rally in Washington, D.C.
Protesters plan to gather Sunday near the White House, but hundreds of counter-protesters are expected as well. Police say the goal is to keep the two groups separate in a bid to avoid a repeat of last year's rally, which was marked by bloody brawling. One protester, an accused Nazi sympathizer, is awaiting trial in the death of counter-protester Heather Heyer. He's accused of deliberately plowing his car into her and others. Some protesters are also planning to gather once again in Charlottesville. The Virginia governor has declared a state of emergency in anticipation of unrest. Last year, President Trump was widely criticized when he condemned both sides for the violence. Amy Held, NPR News, Washington.
The state of Tennessee has executed a man for the 1985 rape and murder of a young girl. Billy Ray Eyrick was put to death using lethal injection. Chaz Sisk of member station WPLN in Nashville says it's Tennessee's first execution in nearly 9 years.
The hiatus was caused in large part because of the unavailability of lethal injection drugs and questions about their effectiveness. Eyrick was one of 33 death row inmates in Tennessee who've been challenging lethal injection in state courts as unconstitutional. But the U.S. Supreme Court declined to grant him a stay, so that case could be decided before he was executed. Instead, Eyrick was put to death using a 3-drug cocktail. Witnesses say the procedure took about 20 minutes to complete. He snored periodically after receiving a sedative, but showed no signs of consciousness as the lethal drugs were administered. The family of Eyrick's victim, 7-year-old Paula Davis, were present for the execution. Among his last words were, "I'm really sorry." For NPR News, I'm Chaz Sisk in Nashville.
The National Interagency Fire Center says there are 106 large fires burning in the U.S. Western states have the most of them. Alaska has 16 large fires. Colorado has 13. There are many fires burning in California. Farther south, the Holy Fire is burning southeast of Los Angeles. This fire has now forced the evacuation of more than 21,000 people. You're listening to NPR. The Trump administration is revising an Affordable Care Act program that lets participating doctors share any savings generated by cutting Medicare costs. NPR's Allison Kojak reports those doctors will now have to pay if their costs rise.
The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services wants medical practices in the so-called shared savings program to take on some financial risk if they want the reward that comes with cutting costs. Currently, doctors that reduce the cost of caring for their Medicare patients can keep a share of the savings. But if their costs go up, most aren't penalized. As a result, the agency says the program hasn't cut costs at all. But the few practices that did agree to pay if their costs went up, and in turn get a bigger reward if costs went down, managed to save money. So now the agency is proposing that anyone who participates in the program will have to take on some of the downside risk after 2 years. Allison Kojak, NPR News.
Rebels in Yemen are backing a call by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres for a probe into yesterday's missile strike in northern Yemen. The explosion in a market killed dozens of people, including children. There's concern about Zimbabwe's government becoming more authoritarian. Zimbabwe police arrested a senior opposition figure who had fled to Zambia for asylum, but Tende Biti was returned to Zimbabwe, where he was immediately detained. Opposition officials have already said they'll challenge last week's presidential election in Zimbabwe, which they lost. I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News.
Radio. It's nothing new. It's been here all along, with free entertainment, news, sports, music, and information. It's not just part of life. It's part of who we are. You know which station is going to tell you the score of the game, which one's going to give you a laugh in the morning, which one is going to give you something to sing along with. You know where to turn when the weather gets rough. When something big happens, good or bad, you know where to go because radio has been here all along. Radio is part of your community, woven into the fabric of what makes home, home. And now, radio has evolved to move with you with the Next Radio app and your FM-enabled phone. Just plug in your headphones to start experiencing radio in a whole new way while using way less battery and data than streaming apps. Check out the live guide to see and interact with live radio stations. Easily find your favorites like the one you're listening to right now. And as always, it's totally free. Download the Next Radio app today. Next Radio, live and local wherever you go.
Hey, it's Steve Harvey here for the Illinois Broadcasters Association, and in a recent survey, the Illinois Emergency Management Agency was asked to name the top 5 items that every Illinois family needs to have in their home's emergency disaster kit. Check out these answers. Water, can't live without it. Number 2, non-perishable food. Well, after all, a man gotta eat, right? Number 3, weather radio, and make sure you got fresh batteries too. Number 4, flashlight. Even more reason to have fresh batteries on hand. Number 5, first aid kit. Look, there's no reason to feud over what items to put in your family's emergency disaster kit. Get the answers and more at ready.illinois.gov. That's ready.illinois.gov.
Sponsored by the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, aired in cooperation with the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
Remember back a few years ago when you wanted to sell something? Where could you advertise that product? You had so many media to choose from. There were signboards and newspapers and radio and television. Which one should you pick? Well, thanks to Heartland Newsfeed, those days are over. Let us help you plan a print ad, an online ad, or a radio ad that will target your customer. And the price is based on the type of advertising you want to do, the size of the print ad, or the length of the radio spot. Or you can choose all 3. And our prices are considerably more affordable than the competition. And best of all, we guarantee satisfaction. If you don't like your ad, we'll do it over for you. We want you to be satisfied with what we do, so you'll let us plan your advertising over and over. So, call Heartland Newsfeed today at 1-866-285-4117. That's 1-866-285-4117. It's a new type of advertising for a brand new century.
Oh, Illinois, Illinois!
Hey, time to celebrate Illinois agriculture.
Yes.
Well, we try to do that every day on the program. And for the next 9 to 10 days, it will be celebrated at the State Fair.
Yeah, and you know, we will get a full day in today with the Master Showmanship Contest. And I know we both have favorite events at the fair.
That's one of them.
It is.
Definitely. No question about it. Now, what about you, the husband, hog calling, and all that stuff? Is that a favorite?
Well, I'll tell you what. This year, since we've introduced the duck calling contest for the very first time, I'm pretty jazzed.
Was there was there registration for that, or is it just a show-up deal?
You can, but most of the time, folks just show up at the time of the event. The big change for the contest, in addition to the duck calling part of it, is it's going to be on the Illinois Department of Ag stage, not Lincoln stage. And it's a good reason, because the big Veterans Day salute to the bicentennial and a big presentation there at Lincoln stage during the afternoon Sunday. Okay. So it might run a little long. So, 3 o'clock or so, meet me at the Department of Ag tent.
On Sunday.
On Sunday.
It's a lot to keep in mind. Department of Ag has its own building, and it has a tent, and it has a stage.
And we're saying that so we don't get it confused ourselves.
I did that more for my benefit than anybody else.
Yeah. So lots of news and markets coming up. Stay with us. This is RFD Illinois.
Meet Meet the new face of Illinois Farm Bureau, ILFB.org. A revamped website is your mobile-friendly go-to source for IFB, Ag, and beyond. All it takes is one click for your link to Illinois agriculture.
Click for involvement.
Learn about programs to help you become a better leader.
Click for action.
Find out how you can be an advocate for agriculture.
Click for resources.
Here you'll find helpful materials and information.
Click to explore.
Check out the role of agriculture in our economy and our world.
ILFB.org.
Your link to Illinois Ag.
RFD Radio Network's DeLoss Yankee connects rural routes for you. DeLoss delivers essential farm and food-related news to our listeners. His witty voice has been heard on the air for more than 2 decades. Here's a bit about his rural roots.
Growing up on a farm prepared me for my career. I try to know a little about a lot of things and let the people I interview be the experts. I've always wanted to be on the radio. I'm just happy to do what I enjoy.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Welcome back to RFD Illinois. I'm DeLoss Yankee. Let's talk State Fair. And Steve Bridge from our affiliate in Springfield was at the Butter Cow unveiling back on Wednesday afternoon.
The Illinois State Fair is underway. The ribbon was cut on Thursday afternoon, and the Twilight Parade rolled onto the grounds to be the unofficial welcome to the 11-day run in Springfield. The fair is taking time to celebrate 200 years of Illinois, and one of the most visible will be the state's Butter Cow, a tradition not quite 200 years in the making. State Director of Ag Raymond Poe has been coming to the fair for years. He says this cow a great symbol of the fair and a real part of Illinois history.
I've been coming to the fair probably since in the 1940s, and it was always that family event to make sure you got to go see the Butter Cow. That was one of the highlights. And I probably would go so far as to say, but the Butter Cow is probably the most photographed thing on the fairgrounds.
The cow on display every day of the fair inside the dairy building. You can stop by and see the cow and pick yourself up some Prairie Farms ice cream. The fair this year features a grandstand led with country music stars, including Illinois' own Brett Eldridge. There's also a roller coaster for the first time ever on the Carnival Midway, along with a rodeo on Friday. And when you come down, you can donate a book for an ag literacy drive at the Department of Ag tent. Reporting in Springfield, I'm Steve Bridge for the RFD Radio Network.
Thanks, Steve. We'll go out to Washington now, and China's latest tariff moves against U.S. products in response to U.S. tariffs signals the two sides may have entered a new phase in the trade war. As our RFD Washington correspondent Matt Kay reports.
China's going after $16 billion in U.S. autos and energy products, matching the latest equal amount of U.S. tariffs and following earlier hefty duties on U.S. soybeans, pork, poultry, and other ag goods. Diplomatic talks have so far failed, and senior administration officials tell the Washington Post refusal by China's president to negotiate increases their certainty the standoff will worsen. American Farm Bureau trade official Dave Salmonson suggested earlier agriculture's bracing for the worst.
We've had combined now the tariffs going into place on the $34 billion worth of imports from China, another $16 billion of imports will have tariffs on them. And then there's an investigation and a process to move that up to an additional 10% import tariff on $200 billion more of imports from China.
Leading Salmonson to conclude,
so there is more going on in the future that could also invite retaliation. So this is a continuing effort by the administration. So we hope they move and engage in the real negotiations, and this doesn't keep going on and causing market problems.
Salmonson said recently producers might get short-term relief through USDA's $12 billion tariff rescue package, but there's a concern long-term market losses to other suppliers could be hard to win back. Still, the president claims his tariffs are working, linking them, the Post reports, to a downturn in Chinese stocks. Meantime, administration officials are optimistic they'll be able to announce shortly a deal with Mexico on NAFTA that could end U.S. tariffs on Mexican steel and aluminum and Mexican tariffs on U.S. farm goods. For the RFD Radio Network, Matt Kay on Capitol Hill.
Also in the news today, 11 o'clock, USDA's crop production estimates with a twist this time, explained by AgriVisor senior analyst Dale Dirkels.
No one's going to get to see the numbers before 11 o'clock. In past years, the reporters for the various news wires that were inside of lockup, they got all the data from USDA analysts 45 minutes to an hour ahead of the release time so that they could set up their headlines that they were going to push out and the data tables that they were going to push out when release time came. So they got everything prepped up. The minute 11 o'clock Central Time hit, switches were thrown, and all of a sudden, their wires were flooded with everything they had already pre-constructed. Well, tomorrow we're not going to see any of that. The first time that any of the newswire people are going to see the reports is the same time you and me are going to see it, at 11 o'clock. So it's going to be interesting to see how all this works out. And I think there's going to be a pretty heavy rush going to the USDA websites, both for the production numbers and the supply-demand numbers. And there could be some time lags playing in there, but I'm not sure how that'll work, and neither is anyone else.
Dale Dirkhole's first estimates of the year using data from field research. Read us up next on RFD Illinois.
FarmWeekNow.com editor Jeff Brown connects rural routes for you. Jeff has worked with ag clients for the past decade. He writes, edits, and posts content to IFB's digital news outlets and social media for a nonstop supply of information. Here's a bit about his rural roots.
I cover all aspects of ag, but I really enjoy providing crop farmers with practical information they can use in their farm. I think farmers are the best group of people you could ever hope to work for.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
All ag.
All Illinois.
All now.
There are a lot of smartphone apps out there, but do they have what's important to us here in Illinois? The Farm Week Now app does, and it's always at your fingertips. All ag, all Illinois, and 24/7 where and when you need it for free. Go to your app or Play Store on your smartphone, hit search, type in Farm Week Now, that's one word, and download it today. Brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau, where we're all about farm, family, and food.
This is your RFD Radio Network 4F's report. Fuel, fertilizer, feed, and food, all sources of essential energy. Here's Rita Frazier.
This week we'll hear from Mike Steenhoek, Executive Director of the Soy Transportation Coalition. He talked with us about the benefits of dredging the lower Mississippi River.
Well, a lot of times transportation is the temptation is to regard it more at the theoretical level and not really to regard it at the very practical and tangible level. And one of the things that we wanted to do is really to examine an infrastructure investment that would provide real tangible benefit to farmers in the Midwest. And such an investment is dredging the lower Mississippi River. So this area of the river, this 256-mile stretch of the river that extends from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, goes past New Orleans, and then into the Gulf of Mexico, that accounts for 60% of soybean exports, 59% of corn exports. So it's by far our number one export region for both commodities. And what we wanted to do, and there's an effort to dredge that lower part of the river from 45 feet to 50 feet. And if you do that, you're able to load larger vessels with soybeans and grain. The current vessels that are used, you can load them heavier. So you're essentially shaving the per bushel cost to our ultimate customers, making us more competitive. But one of the things that we focus on with this research is how would farmers in Illinois, in Iowa, in Minnesota, Ohio, et cetera, how would they benefit? Because one of the well-established realities within agriculture is that the price that a farmer receives or the basis that they encounter is largely a focus of how efficient the transportation system is after they make that delivery. So if you are located close to the river, one of the rivers, you normally will have more narrow basis or even positive basis. And so the question is, if you make that lower Mississippi River, if you dredge it, make it more efficient, that whole supply chain more efficient, farmers would actually benefit. And the research that we showed shows that the state of Illinois, soybean farmers would generate $77 million of additional value for their soybean crop, not because supply has changed, not because demand has changed, but just simply because the supply chain has become more efficient. And this would be money being retained in the pockets of Illinois soybean farmers. That's something that we should really embrace.
What's the drawback here? Why can't we just go ahead and do that? Makes sense.
Well, it's a project that's been authorized, so there is kind of a roadmap to actually doing it. Congress has done that, but then, of course, the more formidable step is to get funding appropriated for it. And so what our hope is that after the midterm elections, probably after a new Congress is seated, that there will be renewed effort to do something comprehensive on infrastructure. Those are the signals that I'm hearing from Washington, D.C., is that's going to be one of the top priorities. And, of course, the cynic in me says, when is this going to go from being in the batter's box, from the on-deck circle to actually in the batter's box? But we're hopeful that will actually occur. And so what our task is to make sure, as we're considering as a nation, what are those priority projects to really stimulate our economy and sustain our economy? This is a project that needs to be a part of it and regarded as one of those priorities, and making sure that funding is allocated for it. So that's making sure that we're working with a broad Midwestern group of policymakers and getting that kind of support. That's going to be very key.
Mike Steenhoek with the Soy Transportation Coalition. For more details, you can head to soytransportation.org. In other news, on a Friday, we are focusing on the Illinois State Fair for the next 10 days in Springfield, but the Farm Progress Show just around the corner this year in Boone, Iowa. Farm Progress Show site manager Matt Youngman talks about how things look in Boone.
Look amazing. This will be our fifth pass through Boone at our permanent site there in Boone, Iowa, and that site has really come into its own. It took a number of shows for Decatur to kind of get its feet under it, and Boone is there now. That site looks better right now than it's ever looked before. Unlike some of us in Illinois, they've gotten plenty of rain to come through there. The field demo crops look fantastic. I just got some pictures yesterday of some ears they pulled out of those demo crops. They're going to be in great shape, ready to roll. We've got some cool things, lots of product introductions. Some of them I can't talk about, but other ones, like the Fendt Ideal Combine will be on site. Mitas is going to float a tractor. We've got a retention pond, and they've actually got a tractor outfitted with tires big enough, great enough flotation for the tractor to actually float and propel itself across a pond there on the show site. Tiling demonstrations, plenty of new stuff at the Farm Progress Show this year.
You've been around enough to live through the cycles of the ag economy, ups and downs there, and how it reflects upon your show. How do you digest 2018 into what you might see at this year's show?
As you mentioned, it's cyclical. And farmers know that the best cure for low prices is low prices, and so do those exhibitors. And that's why you continue to see them pulling out all the stops and doing the hard work to have good conversations with growers like they do when the show is going on, because they know that while maybe the grower doesn't quite have the money that they had a few years ago, they're still going to be buying inputs. Things are going to turn around. They're going to need to replace that combine. They're going to need to buy seed next year. That there's still money that's going to be spent, and they want to make sure that they're first in line to make sure that they're fighting to get their share of that.
What should farmers here know about the Boone Show, and why should they join you over in Iowa?
Yeah, this month, August 28th, 29th, and 30th. I think maybe one of the key reasons that somebody might want to come to the show is that there have been a lot of mergers occur here, in the last few months, last year or two. And, some people are going to be wearing different shirts and maybe doing the same job, doing a different job and wearing the same shirt. But how these mergers affect your operation is probably one of the things that folks are going to be hunting around the show site to figure out. I think that's probably going to be one of the headlines of the event this year. So get one last day or two last days away from the farm before you climb in the combine. Get away from there, rest, and come and learn about your industry would probably be the thing I'd tell folks.
Matt Youngman with Farm Progress Shows. We will see you in Boone later this month. We'll break now for markets and weather.
Thank you very much, Rita.
With the RFD Ag Market Summary for this Friday morning, I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and wheat all ending Thursday lower. September corn closing at $3.69 and a quarter, down 2. December corn down 2 1/4, $3.82 3/4. March corn $3.94, down 2 pennies. August beans closing at $8.87 3/4, down 6. September beans $8.93, down 6 3/4. November beans down 6 1/2. 9.04. September wheat closing at 5.64 1/2, down 5 1/2. December wheat 5.86 1/2, down 4 3/4. March wheat down 4 1/2, 6.07. August bean meal 3.34 even, down 3.10. August bean oil down 3 cents, 28.42. In current electronic overnight trading, September corn down 1/2, December corn down 1/2, March corn 3.93 1/2, down 1/2. September beans in the overnight down 3.5. November beans down 3 3/4, and January beans down 3.5. 9.12. September wheat in the overnight down 1.5. December wheat down a penny. March wheat down 1/2, 606.5. In the outside markets, October Brent crude oil down 21 cents a barrel, 72.07. The December gold contract 12.1810, down 180. In the livestock market, August lean hogs 54.97, up 17 cents. October lean hogs up $3. 51.40. August live cattle 108.25, down 157. October live cattle down 195, 109.05. August feeders 149.35, down 130. September feeders down 72 cents, 149.02. Cash livestock at Schuyler Livestock Sales, Rushville, steers 114 the top. Illinois direct barrels and gilts trading $1 lower on Thursday at 22 to 36. And I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network.
Good morning, this is Dan Hicks from Freeze Notice Weather with the early morning ag weather update on the RFD Radio Network for this Friday morning. Daytime highs in the 80s and low 90s were common across much of the Midwest yesterday, with a few mid-90s in some west central and southwestern locations. A large part of the region had no significant rain the past 24 hours, but there were a few widely scattered showers and thunderstorms around the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and the eastern part of the region. Here in Illinois, a few widely scattered showers and thunderstorms did occur in the far southern and the far northern part of the state. Rainfall across much of the Midwest will stay fairly spotty through the weekend. Best chances for a few widely scattered thunderstorms will be across the far southern and far eastern part of the region. Elsewhere, any rainfall the next 3 or 4 days will be fairly spotty, with much of the time staying dry. Temperatures will average near to slightly below normal in the eastern part of the Midwest, with readings near to a little bit above normal farther west in the region. Most daytime highs will be in the 80s and low 90s. Looking ahead into next week, it does look like a stalled system over the southern part of the nation will start to lift slowly northward once again. This should bring some increasing shower and thunderstorm chances back into the Midwest early to mid next week, and this more active period could continue into the 6 to 10 day time frame. Right now it looks like greatest rainfall during the 6 to 10 day time frame will occur from portions of the central and southern plains up into the Ohio Valley and the Midwest. Near to above normal amounts are likely across some southern through eastern parts of the Midwest during this time period, with lighter amounts as you move farther to the northwest. 6 to 10 day temperatures will likely average fairly close to normal across the southern half of the Midwest, with near to above normal temperatures in the northern half of the region.
Bureau County Farm Bureau knows that protecting water quality is a priority on your farm. Attend our woodchip bioreactor field day on Tuesday, August 21st at 10 a.m. Join us at the Ganchow Farm in Walnut for a free lunch and a preview of partially constructed bioreactor. We've teamed up with engineers, contractors, and researchers who will be on hand to answer your questions. Call Bureau County Farm Bureau at 815-875-6468 and reserve your spot by Tuesday, August 14th. Visit us on Facebook for more information.
Does the warmer weather have you itching for a weekend getaway? Take your Illinois Farm Bureau membership savings with you.
Farm Bureau members can save up to 20% at choice hotels, including favorites like Comfort Suites, Sleep Inn, Quality Inn and Suites, with even more to choose from.
Call 800-258-2847 or visit the Choice Hotels website to search all the hotels at once and to make advance reservations.
Contact your local County Farm Bureau for your discount code number.
Farm, family, food. Those 3 words best describe Illinois Farm Bureau. Farm. For 100 years, Farm Bureau in Illinois has represented and served the men and women who make Illinois one of the top food-producing states. Family. At the heart of rural Illinois are traditional farm families who work together through Illinois Farm Bureau. And food. Farm Bureau families are proud to grow the healthy food they provide their families and yours. Farm, family, food. The heart of Farm Bureau in Illinois.
RFD Radio Network's Jim Taylor connects rural routes for you. You can trust Jim every morning for your overnight markets. He gets up early to help keep farmers on top of their game. Here's a bit about his rural routes.
I have the opportunity to cover something different every day and provide listeners with up-to-date markets, news they need to do their job and be successful, from legislative issues to crop updates and weather, of course.
Be it routes or routes, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Hey, that's all the time we have for this edition of RFD Illinois.
Hey, we salute a community.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a little bit, but earlier in the week I said that there are 11 places in the country where a county name is the same on both state lines.
Oh.
Both sides of the state line.
Okay.
Like Vermilion County I mentioned. It's spelled differently, but there's Vermilion, Indiana, Vermilion County, Illinois. There's also Pike County, Missouri.
Yes.
And Pike County, Illinois, side by side. One of the communities in Pike County is Eldara. Did you know that?
No.
Eldara, population 78.
Hello.
Hello.
See you at the Illinois State Fair today, and look for Jenna Preston and Katie Spengler.
They'll be easy to find.
Because they'll be with you.
Well, then they're vivacious.
Thank you for joining us here on the RFD Radio Network.
Hey, a great way to reach farm.
Do you need dental insurance? Then call Physicians Mutual Insurance Company for details. Not just a discount plan, real coverage for 350 procedures. Call 1-855-402-7556. Again, that's 1-855-402-7556. Offer is not available in Minnesota, Montana, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington.
When severe weather strikes, it's important you're in the know. Even if power goes out and cellular networks are down, radio can be your lifeline. And Next Radio is the free app that brings FM radio right to your Android smartphone. No data or cellular network required, and it won't drain your battery. Go to the Google Play Store right now. Download the Next Radio app to your Android device. Stay tuned to this station, and please stay safe. For a full list of compatible devices, visit nextradioapp.com.
Do you or a loved one have a chronic condition such as diabetes, a heart condition, or asthma? Do you or a loved one have a severe allergy to a certain food, drug, or insect? If you answer yes to any of these questions, you are a candidate for an electronic medical alert watch, the alternative to the traditional medical ID bracelet. An electronic medical alert watch visibly communicates a person's health conditions, drug, food, and other allergies, and other critical information to help make a diagnosis and save a life. Take control of your health. Protect yourself or your loved ones and order an electronic medical alert watch today. Visit www.epill.com. That's epill.com. Affordable, free shipping, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Remember, www.epill.com. That's EPILL.com. ePill.
Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise.
And all was Benjamin Franklin wise. So you actually think electricity can pass through metal? Ha! Ben Franklin, go fly a kite.
Excellent idea. Where are my keys?
Besides the bifocals, Ben invented the Franklin stove, the odometer, and the lightning rod. Ingenuity, pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.